Okay, Tony Casey here with the Techology Show, along with Dr. Keith Drury from Indiana Wesleyan University. Keith, understand that you and Bob Black are co-authoring a book, kind of a narrative history of the Wesleyan Church. So tell us a little bit about that, and especially how might this be different than the histories that have been written so far?
Well, yeah, the histories written, the big fat histories that are written so far, kind of let's tell everything that happened. And a lot of it has to do with the history of, like, the headquarters, because those are the people who have the archives. I mean, whoever keeps the records determines what you say in history in the future. Bob and I and the church commissioned us to do kind of a more story of the church at large. Now, we can't stay away from headquarters, but, like, what's going on in local churches at this time, and what's the kind of movement. And so we've never had a history of the Wesleyan Church that treats the streams that came into it as all one history, and that's what this does. It's not like, here's Wesleyan Methodist history, here's Pilgrim Holiness history, now here's the combined church. Well, they have to tell there's no Pilgrim Holiness Church in 1840, so you have to do that, but it's sort of, when we come to the joint chapters, we tell both stories, like what's happened in the 1920s in both churches. And so it kind of unfolds like this is sort of like when a couple gets married. Well, I shouldn't say this. When a couple gets married, you finally tell your kids the history of both sides as one history, not like two histories. So that's what we're trying to do.
So what's your area of responsibility, Bob's? Is his the Wesleyan Methodist side, yours Pilgrim, or kind of how is this being split up?
Precisely. Bob, Wesleyan Methodist strain. I'm the reason I got stuck with writing the Pilgrims. I'm a writer, and I'm the only Pilgrim that writes about the Pilgrims. Mostly Pilgrims just did stuff, you know. No one wrote it down.
Okay. Heath, I understand you have a question?
Yeah, we've been asking, matter of fact, we asked Dr. Black earlier today, how can the gathering be a catalyst for the entire denomination like the youth conventions were for the youth movement in our church?
Can be. Any gathering can be. They, for years, tried to make General Conference that. Never worked, you know. But it can be in maybe a slower way, because you get 1,000, 1,200 pastors together for 3 or 4 days. You have an impact on them. But not as much impact as you have on a junior higher. I mean, if 11th, you know, the turnaround happens a lot quicker. You get 27-year-old youth pastor. Whoa, my whole life has changed in 8 minutes. You know, you get 55-year-old pastors. Their whole life is changing. You know, 5 months maybe. So more effective change. I think this conference has a potential of make some impact. A couple things hit me, being here, as probably influential in the whole denomination.
And then one other question I want to ask you. You were blogging before anybody was blogging. It was just your Tuesday emails. Share just a little bit about that. What started that? And then where can we find your writings now and get plugged into that?
Okay, you can find it right. I'll tell you where that first. You can find the writings on Drury Writing, one word, Drury Writing, D-R-U-R-Y, writing, drurywriting.com. And I have a discussion of my column every week that occurs on Facebook. So if someone friends me, Keith Drury, face me at Facebook, that's where the discussion happens. I used to have it on blog, but I moved it to Facebook because people on Facebook are a little kinder, quite so hostile, and you have to have your name there. And it's a lot deeper. 40, 50 people last week responded. So it's kind of almost a way to test what pastors think about an issue. What was the question, actually? I did the advertising.
How did you start with the blogging?
Oh, I started with the blogging. Actually, when email, I got the old 300 baud connection, you know. You know, I thought, whoa, I was at headquarters at the time. I thought, what a way to communicate. Why would you ever send a letter? And so I thought, well, I'll write I had been writing letters called the cadre memo to a group of youth workers at the time. And I thought, wow, I can save a lot of money. It was very practical. I could save a lot of money if I sent it this way. There were 17 Wesleyans that had an email address in 1995 when I started it, and I took those 17 Wesleyan. I still have their names, and I've tested recently all the email addresses, and not one still is live. Every one is dead. Even the AOL ones are dead. They are all dead. But started doing just to those 17. Well, 95, of course, when everyone went online. And so by the end of 90, actually by late 95, it was up to 3,000. Wow. I was doing it by email then, which was crazy. I mean, people changed their emails, like address all the time. It was, and that's when I went, hey, I quit doing home delivery. You want it? Come and get it. Click and get it. So
that's awesome. Anything else, Tony?
Question I'll let you ask.
All right.
Will you ever get Bob Black on Twitter?
The question is, are you ever going to get Bob Black on Twitter?
20 years after a talk.
Hey, Dr. Drury, thank you so much for your work and your ministry and the lives you've influenced there at IWU, and we'll see you guys later.